but it's not going on public YouTube. I always record a little bit before what's released for my Patreon. Okay, which is a few people that, you know what I mean, that see it. So don't worry about that too much. It's just kind of behind the scenes look what goes on, you know.
Yeah. And I kind of do this. I mean, I don't do it for my Patreon. I just kind of do it for like my own personal content, just to promote also and have it on my page. So I have like GoPro and my cell phone and stuff that be recording me. And you know what I'm saying? If I say something, I'm like, you know what, this would be something kind of cool to kind of just put on my page real quick to send people to the link or whatever. Then I just kind of do that too.
Okay. Well, I was going to ask a question, but I want to make sure that it's a legitimate one for you, because I've talked. Oh, it's all good. No, it's one of those, because I asked Jerraud this once in the middle of a show, and I said, "Hey, have you ever done a joint practice?" And he said it wasn't really that big when I was in the league, so no. And I didn't know if you had done it either. You know, if you've ever been in a joint practice.
Yeah, I mean, I had joint practices all the time.
Awesome.
I actually came in having joint practices when I was with Houston. My rookie year we had joint practices. Got to fighting with the Saints. Yeah, I mean, I had joint practices plenty of times.
Awesome.
Wasn't a huge fan of them, but I had them. What up, Jack?
Glover, how's it going? Lawrence, how's it going? Sorry for the delay. Just the classic internet issues.
Yeah, I know those. I have them occasionally.
They happen from time to time. But Glover, with you practicing against the Saints, I'm kind of wondering now, who was the worst to practice against in terms of either player, team, whatever?
I mean, honestly, all of them. Like, I hated practicing against all of them. I mean, the Saints were awful. We practiced against Indy when I was in Detroit. We practiced against Pittsburgh. That was awful. Pittsburgh probably was the worst, and Antonio Brown and all those guys. I mean, we practiced against. Did I practice against New England one time?
I think you said you did when Patricia.
Yeah, when I was in Houston.
Oh,
no, it wouldn't have been.
Right.
It wouldn't. No, not in Houston. In Detroit, it wouldn't have been Patricia though. I think it was Jim. Or it might have been Coach Caldwell, because with Coach Patricia, we practiced against the Giants.
Ooh. Hey, there's something we could bring up, man. If Jerraud comes on here, I'm gonna give him a few more minutes. It says live. I'm just recording, and this is pre-show recording. So just let you know, Jack.
Gotcha.
Just behind the scenes stuff for my Patreon.
Yeah, for sure.
I assume you want a copy of this recording when it's done. Do you need both the video and the audio, or just the audio?
Just the audio, I think, because you're gonna send the video to Bleav anyways, right? Yeah. So just then that way we're not double sending. But yeah, if you could send me the audio, I would love that, and then I can add it to our feed as well. Thank you.
Not a problem, man. Yeah, I used the video because I got my own channel, and my channel gets a lot more views than Bleav does.
Yeah. I was watching your last two videos, the ones of the Lions Colts practicing.
Yeah. Those are good. So, like I said, it's either me. I'm either at the practice, or my co-host for my other podcast is at practice. Every practice and training camp, we're there, taking video and stuff, because these are awesome, right?
That's awesome.
So we're allowed to record. Now, obviously, we can't record and post, your team drills, your 7-on-7s and 11-on-11, stuff like that, because that's, secret shit. You don't want to give the other teams in the NFL, info on you. But one-on-ones and position drills and stuff like that, that's good to to show. And it's great content. Fans who can't show up to these training camps, they eat that stuff up. It's great.
What's crazy is as a player,
Mm-hmm.
showing me the one-on-ones and individual drills is better than showing me the 7-on-7 and team stuff.
Really?
That's
because if we're playing them, we're going to get all their videos and all their plays. I don't get to see their one-on-ones when I'm scouting them.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like when we get the breakdown film, they're going to show us all the plays that they're running in practice. They're going to run them in the games. So when I get to play them, I'm going to see all the plays. Just because they show me one play in practice doesn't mean I'm like, oh, okay, this right here is the play they're going to run I don't freaking know. You know what I'm saying? But when you watch the film, you get to see all their plays and you study them, right?
Okay.
But I don't get to see their one-on-ones in practice. I don't get to see their favorite releases that they're working on. And you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So as a player, show me the one-on-ones and stuff that they're doing in practice. show me that stuff, because then you can just, you know what I'm saying? You can kind of see like, okay, cool. And like I said, that's the stuff that we don't get to see. Like, we don't get privy to the other team's one-on-ones.
All right. Yeah, we was watching, like, for the most part, some one-on-ones and your O-line, D-line drills, stuff like that. Like what I posted yesterday, Jack. Apparently you watched that, and that was a good one. The day before, we had the Colts O-line versus the Detroit D-line, and then reverse, yesterday. And it's weird. People make excuses for okay, Quentin Nelson got beat twice really bad on the first day, like real bad. And you could have excuses for that. That's fine, but he still got beat, right? And then yesterday, Frank Ragnow, he got beat, right? And people are making all these excuses, and I'm just like, look, it happened, Even the best of the best have bad reps, It is what it is.
That's why it's practice, man.
Like, he got tripped, and I'm like, that shit happens in a game too,
Right.
Yeah, I saw the Frank one because you posted the Grover Stewart on Frank, and I'm like, was that Frank? I watched it like 3 times. Like, oh damn, that's a good rep.
Yeah. And then if you look at it, man, oh my goodness, all the excuses from Lions fans. Oh, he got tripped by Big V, and I'm like, he might have bumped feet with him, on his back step, but V never moved his foot. So that's on Frank for not knowing where the foot is, But either way, a bad rep's a bad rep. They happen, and and don't take away from Grove, because he had a good rep, I mean, he came in obviously with a really good power rush that Frank wasn't ready for at that time. It is what it is.
Right.
You get, like, Big Q got beat by one of your guys' UDFAs that I don't even think I think he got cut the same day, so it happens. It happens. But apparently, all right, I'm going to start recording, because I know that Jerraud will pop in. If he does, then I will just bring him in the middle of it. I don't know when he's going to actually show up, but we'll start the show. And when he does, I'll pop him in. We'll get some questions going. I got to make sure that, holy crap. Get into mine. So I know I have at least one question. Oh, maybe a couple more. Yes, we got a couple questions actually. Nice. That we can bring in. But all right, give me a few. You can obviously change out the intro for yours when you do the audio. It's fine. So 1, 3, 2. Are you ready, Glover?
Oh yeah, I'm ready.
Jack?
Yep, all set.
Okay, good. 3, 2, 1.
Hi everybody, I'm Cassidy, one of your Indianapolis Colts cheerleaders, and you're watching the Bleav in Colts podcast.
What's going on, everybody? I'm Lawrence Owen, back with another episode of Bleav in Colts, and I got a couple great special guests from the Bleav in Lions podcast, Jack Cavanagh, Glover, Quin. What's going on, guys? Jack, how are you doing?
Fantastic. I'm excited to talk about the Lions because it's a great time to be a Lions fan. I'm excited to hear your thoughts on the joint practices with the Colts. And of course, I'm happy as always to talk to my co-host, the all-pro, the interception leader, Glover Quin.
What's up, man? I'm excited too, man. This is awesome. Excited to talk about the Lions, obviously, and to see what's going on in these joint practices.
Absolutely. So we had a little bit of discussion beforehand. I asked you if you ever part of a joint practices, and you said, go ahead.
I mean, we had them all the time. I came in the league having them. You know, when I was in Houston, I was practicing against the Saints. So I'm going, Drew Brees, and what actually happened the first year, I think Drew Brees missed the first day because he had something going on with his family. So Mark Brunell, who's actually the Lions quarterback coach right now, was the quarterback for the Saints. So the first day we practiced with Mark Brunell, and it was cool. The next day, Drew Brees shows up, and it's totally different. Like tempo, like swag, like everything's totally different, right? So, I mean, obviously we fought those guys, made ESPN, D'Amico Ryans, Jeremy Shockey, all those guys. So we done that. We practiced with the Saints multiple times when I was in Houston. I get to Detroit, we practice against Pittsburgh, we practice against New England, we practice against the Colts, we practice against the Giants. I think we practiced against the Raiders one time in Napa. So yeah, I mean, I had joint practices. I mean, almost every year I feel like I had a joint practice.
Oh my goodness. And you weren't the biggest fan of joint practices. Why was that?
It's just so much. It's just different, and the schedules are off, and you get these guys who are trying to do a little too much. You know what I'm saying? And that's why you always have these fights, right? Because you get guys that, hitting guys late, playing dirty, whatever you have it, right? And then obviously the fans are there. So, when you have a normal practice play that happens every day, right? Fans try to blow it out of perspective. And so then players get fired up. All right, I got you. And it's just so much going on. And it's just, I don't know, man. It was just a lot of stuff that, like, I really wasn't a fan of as far as my everyday practicing. But it's good for the game. It's good for the players. It's good for you, right? It's good for you to go against these other guys, see them in practice, get to work on so many different things. You know what I'm saying? Every situation, run, pass, 2 minutes, 7-on-7, 1-on-1s, guard different guys on 1-on-1s, all these different things that help you get better. I just wasn't a huge fan of them.
Okay. And Jack, as a fan / guy who covers a team, what are your thoughts on joint practices?
Well, as a fan and an analyst, I absolutely love them. They're fun. You get to see matchups that you'll never get to see any other time. Look at what happened with Michael Pittman and Jeff Okudah the other day. Like, I understand that it's in the grand scheme of things, it's not a big deal, but just to see that little interaction, that pushing and shoving and the scrum that breaks out, it's content, it's fun, and it just adds to the hype for the season.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, I understand why there's skirmishes, because it's two different teams. I mean, you have skirmishes sometimes within your own team during practices, right? I mean, during normal practices, but when it's somebody else and it's, you think that maybe this person went a little bit too far, like what you were talking about, Glover, and then it ends up being into a pushing match and maybe something more than that. Now, obviously, coaches, players probably don't want to see that too much. Some fans, obviously, like what you're talking about, Jack, absolutely love that kind of stuff. It's like, oh, yay, we can actually, what is this? Hockey? Right? I mean, no, But at the same time, from a coaches and players standpoint, I would assume that it's really good for the team because you get that break. Oh, just lost Jack. I'm sure he'll be back shortly.
Yeah. I mean,
but
definitely from a coach's standpoint, right? They love it because you get to see these young players, against other teams, right? And you can do more things because you can control the situations. When you're playing in a game, it's a totally different atmosphere, but you just play the situation that occurs in the game, right? So first and second down plays, 2-minute drill, right? Red zone. You just play it as it happens in the game. When you're in practice, we can say, hey, we're going to work red zone and see how you guys execute in the red zone. Hey, we're going to do 2-minute drill and see how you guys execute in 2-minute drill. Hey, we're going to do, one-on-ones. We're going to do punt return. We're going to do all these situations so we can see these young guys do what they do and see if they can play at a high level. Like I say, it's a different atmosphere in the game, right? More going on, more distractions, lots of people, it's loud. So now you can see if a player can think, can he perform under the lights when we don't have time to necessarily go over every single thing. We just got to go out and play the game, right? We got to be able to go from situation to situation because, like I said, in practice, it's scripted, right? So hey, this is red zone period. Hey, this is third down period. Hey, this is – well, in the game, these situations are just happening. You go from first down to second down to third down. Oh, they got a big play. Now you're in the red zone. Now it's first down in the red zone. Now, you know what I'm saying? And you don't have time to just specifically say, we're working on this right here, right? So that's how it's different in the practices than it is in the games. But as a coach, you like the practices because you can, like I say, you can script it how you want it to see how these guys are going to do. And then you want to see how they turn around and perform in the game as well.
Well, also you look at it. Okay, so we was talking with Frank Reich, and he had said that way back when the Lions and the Colts, agreed to do this, him and Dan Campbell already discussed, had this already planned out, that starters probably would not be playing in the preseason game itself because, like what you're talking about, in practice, you get to set up the looks you want to see as a coach, right? From all the players, right? Different instances and stuff of that nature. So you get a lot more out of as a coach, knowing what your team is just from those 2 days of practices than the entire preseason game. So that allows you to let your starters sit back and relax for a day, and get those bubble guys and the UDFAs
right.
and stuff like that, more time out on the field to get some film to look at them. Jack, so I think that we've discussed quite a bit about that situation. I want to look forward towards this preseason game a little bit. What are some things that you're hoping to see coming into this preseason game?
I'm hoping first and foremost to see more snaps with the first team defense from Malcolm Rodriguez, the linebacker who's been getting hype spring, summer, Hard Knocks, everywhere that Malcolm Rodriguez goes, he gets publicity. So I'm excited to see more from him. I'm excited to see these DBs compete because Glover's hit on that a lot. We're still kind of figuring out who is that guy who is going to make a play when you need a play made. And it sounds like the safeties, Tracy Walker and Deshaun Elliott, they are those guys. But at corner, we're still figuring that out. So I just want to see aggressiveness. I don't want to see them giving up easy catches. If they get beat, they get beat. But be physical. Don't give any clean catches.
Right. And I think, I love the concept of the joint practices, right? Because like you said, you can get your starters a lot of reps in these practices in a controlled environment where they can work against a team and they don't actually have to tackle guys to the ground. And you can hopefully try to avoid some injury. And then your guys don't have to play as much in the preseason games. But for the Lions, I think they're young defensively. I think those guys need to play in the game to get some of those game reps. Deshaun Elliott and Tracy Walker, this is their first year playing together as a safety. They need to get reps in games with each other. These corners, they need game reps. These linebackers, I mean, I'm sorry, Aiden is a first-round draft pick, but I think he needs a couple game reps. I think if you got a veteran team, a veteran defense, veteran secondary, guys that have been playing for a while, yes, you work them hard during the week, get a lot of reps in, and then come game time, you can pull back on them a little bit, right? But I think in this situation, I think the Lions need some reps. So I would be surprised if their starters didn't play much, but I wouldn't be surprised if they played at least the whole first quarter and maybe a series into the second, because you're also trying to get conditioning to get ready for the game, because you only have 3 preseason games now.
Yeah, I don't think that Frank Reich is going to have veteran starters playing tomorrow. Now, obviously, some of the new guys that's come into the team, or the rookies, that you're talking about, they'll probably get a couple series out of it. And speaking of that right there, all right, I have a question and I'm going to give this to Glover, since this is kind of right up your alley. In games like tomorrow's, where the ones aren't playing or not going to play much, how difficult is it to evaluate a secondary when they're not going up against the opposing team's ones, like Matt Ryan or something like that, or some of the top star receivers that you're looking at?
Well, I mean, you're looking at different things, right? So you understand that these right here are my guys from a talent standpoint that are the top guys on my squad. So these are going to be the guys that have to play. So I'm evaluating how are we communicating? How are we, communicating to each other, being on the same page for as our coverages? Are we rotating properly? Are we in tune with each other? Are we understanding each other? Are our looks good? Are our disguises good? Are we covering well? How does that technique look against these guys? Are we tackling well? Those are the things that you look for, because it doesn't matter if I'm going against Matt Ryan. It doesn't matter if I'm going against a starter, a backup, a practice squad guy. Those things should be the same. They should be consistent. And as we get ready to go into this season, I want to know that we're communicating, that we all understand what's the game plan, that we're executing it at a high level. If we're not playing against the ones, then we should be dominating these guys, right? We should be dominating this quarterback, dominating these wide receivers, and showing more and more steps towards getting ready for opening day against the Eagles, if you're the Lions. So for me, as a secondary coach type of guy, that's what I would be looking for. I want to see how those guys are communicating, how those guys are flying around, the energy, the effort, the attitude, the physical ability, the playmaking ability. Are we doing those things? And if we are, it doesn't matter who we're playing against.
That was a very detailed answer, and I really appreciate that. All right, those are the kinds of answers you don't get sitting there. And I know, because I've been there after practice asking coaches stuff, and they don't give you that detailed of an answer. All right. Well, for one, they only have 5, 6, 7 minutes to sit there at the podium. So, they got to kind of cut it down. But that was awesome. The next question will be for both of you guys that we got out here. First off, love and thank you for the question, Colts loyalist. Appreciate that. The next question comes from Noah. We're going to start with you, Jack. Which line battle are you looking forward the most this tomorrow?
So there's two different answers to that, and it depends on what you're actually looking at. If I want to see dominance, I'm excited for the Lions offensive line, because they are people movers. As Glover said when he visited them, they are just massive dudes, just huge men. So I'm excited to see that against some of the elites like DeForest Buckner. But in actuality, in terms of actually gaining something, I'm much more excited to see this Lions defensive line. It's so young. Other than Michael Brockers, everyone is kind of competing for a role here. We're trying to figure out who the top edge rushers are, who the we know the nose tackle is Aleem McNeil, but is he going to play on pass rushing downs? Is Levi Onwuzurike going to replace him? So those are the things I'm actually excited to learn about. But of course, I just love the mauling aspect of the Lions O-line.
Do you have an answer for that, Glover?
I mean, regarding the line or just regarding
either defensive line? Which side are you looking forward to seeing, the offensive line versus defensive line, or vice versa more?
Well, I think, I think you want to see a little bit of both for me. I want to see the O-line continue to dominate if those guys play. They had a dominant drive, their first drive last week, and showed exactly what we expect from those guys. Okay, well, can we go out and duplicate that again? Even if it's one clean drive, let's go out and continue to put our stamp on what we're going to be as an offensive line unit. But then, yes, as a defensive line, I want to see if those guys can get after the passer, because having a young secondary, having those young guys at the linebacker core, you're going to need a D-line that can dominate the game. Can they stop the run without us having to blitz all the time? Because the more we blitz, the more pressure we put on our secondary. Can we get after the passer without having to blitz all the time? Because if we can do that, we can keep more guys back in coverage. So can we get some consistent pass rush? Like you said, you got Aiden Hutchinson, you got Micah Brown, you got those guys. Can we get more? Can those guys consistently stop the run and get after the pass? So yes, I want to see the O-line continue to be dominant, but I'm interested to see what the D-line looks like.
See, from a Colts fan perspective and what I'm looking at, I have all the faith in the world in the Colts defensive line. All right, depth all the way down to the bottom guys. I think they're all fantastic. I'm more looking towards the offensive line, specifically that left tackle position, which is so important to protecting the quarterback's blind side. Pryor, the guy that is there right now for the Colts, has not had a very good training camp. I want to see him. I know that Aiden probably won't play a whole lot of snaps, but he should play some, as you said earlier, Glover. I want to see him stack up against Pryor and see how that turns out. Now, most of the snaps I've seen so far is Aiden over there on the right side of the line against the right tackle. So whether does he swing either end?
Yeah, he's been moving all around. So it's kind of funny. The very first play of the game, he was the left end. Then he moved to the right end, faced Jake Matthews, the Pro Bowl left tackle, and beat him for a tackle for loss. And then it was a third down. They lined him up at nose tackle, playing on the interior. So they're going to move Aiden Hutchinson around the formation.
Awesome. That's always a good look to be able to see, because that's a lot like DeForest Buckner, Yannick Ngakoue, guys like that. They move around on the line as well. Kwity Paye, like I said, we have a very strong defensive line, even down to the second level. Let's get into the other question, and then we're going to flip it, and you guys can ask me questions about the Colts if you're interested. The B-Ball Pro 1800 asks, what are you there? And I'm assuming when they say there, I'm assuming they're talking about the Lions' expectations for the season this year. Glover?
What are the expectations? Well, I think, you definitely want to see more wins, right? I think you definitely want to see more wins. And I think you want to get off to a good start. I think if they can get off to a good start, coming off the end of the season that they had last year, right? They started out slow, started to build some momentum towards the end of the season and got a couple wins in. So going into the offseason, you feel like you got better. You added some pieces. You added some guys that can help you. And so now coming into the beginning of this season, you want to get off to a good start. If they can get off to a good start, I think the division is a little down from a standpoint, in my opinion. I don't think Green Bay is going to be as tough. I don't think Minnesota is going to be as tough. And I don't think Chicago is going to be as tough. And so the Lions have the ability that if they can get off to a good start, that they can challenge for this division. And I think if they can put themselves in that situation to where they're playing meaningful football games come mid-November to December, I think you look at this season and say, hey, they're going in the right direction.
All right, Jack, what are your expectations for the Lions this year?
Very similar to what Glover said. I just want to see continued improvement. I want to see, because the defense at times last year, they could be shut down for a quarter, for a drive. I want to see more of that for longer. And I really want to see what this offense is now, because last year the offensive line didn't play any games together. They had just injuries. Injuries kept the entire unit from playing together. So I want to see what it can become. And I know the over-unders set at 6 wins for the Lions. I definitely am hammering that over from our partners over at Bet Online, because 6 wins for the Lions. Glover and I went through the schedule. The Lions could, and I'm not saying they will, but they could theoretically win 13 games if you actually look at the schedule.
Wow. Well, I mean, if you just split with the guys in your own division, that's 3 wins, right? That's half your win total right there. And that's if you just split with them, right? After real quick, did you guys watch the Chicago-Seattle game last night?
Yeah, unfortunately I did.
What'd you think about what Chicago looked like in that game?
Well, Justin Fields was under pressure every pass attempt that he made, so that wasn't great. And then it was a lot of meh for me. No one really flashed on the Bears offense. The defense looked pretty solid still. Again, they were competing against Seattle, who's one of the weaker teams on offense, but yeah, that Bears offensive line would worry me if I was a Bears fan. But since I'm a Lions fan, it excites me.
There you go. There you go. Did you watch the game, Glover?
No, I actually did not.
Okay, that's fine.
You didn't miss anything.
No. Chicago rolled Seattle. I mean,
really?
rolled them. Yeah, because
I didn't even realize it was Thursday night football. Actually,
yeah.
I was at baseball with my kids.
I keep a little bit of eye on Chicago the same way I kind of keep an eye on the Eagles, because our former defensive coordinator is now the head coach over there, and our former offensive coordinator is now the coach over on the Eagles. Kind of similar to the way I followed the Lions there for a while when Jim Caldwell got hired, over there on the Lions. Right. So just kind of keeping up with former coaches, players, stuff like that. And that's a good way of getting a good tabs on the entire NFL, right? Just being able to know what's going on around you, because just focusing in on your team alone is not exactly the best way to be able to evaluate somebody. You want to know how other teams are going as well. So I enjoy doing that. Guys, do you have any questions for me about the Colts and this training camp, or this game that's coming up tomorrow at 1?
I do. Do you guys feel like Matt Ryan's the missing piece?
That was my question.
Because he's done some great things in this league, right? He's done some great things. He's been to a Super Bowl, so he knows what it takes to get there. Got some good pieces around him offensively. Good running backs, good O-line, like we talked about earlier. Good defensive line. Got a good secondary. You guys have been an exciting team these last few years, right? Is Matt Ryan the missing piece?
For the majority of Colts fans, I think the answer is yes. And from what we're seeing in camp, he is most definitely. He is so much different than the quarterbacks that we've had since Andrew Luck. He's even different than Andrew Luck, right? But he's that field general. He's that guy that gets on the field, and just the way he conducts practice by itself is a kind of a breath of fresh air. That guy that he knows what he wants, and he will tell you, be here. When he'll get up there and say, get set, get set, get set. And if you ain't set, then he's running over there yelling in your face. He wants to make sure everybody is on point exactly at the right time, which we haven't had that in a while. And that's a leader that you need on your team. Also, we've noticed from practice that he's able to scramble a lot better than what a lot of people think that, he can. He actually moves in the pocket and actually can take off very well. I mean, obviously he's not Lamar Jackson, but he's definitely not Phillip Rivers, right? When it comes to moving around, and his accuracy is pinpoint. He is the great thing about the Colts and the Matt Ryan connection right here is the Colts receiving group, and not just wide receivers, but tight ends. Our majority are over 6'3". They're big body guys from 6'3" to 6'8". That's how big their receivers are. All right. And with that, you need a guy who can place a football where only the receiver can get it, right? And in a place where the receiver can use his body to block out the defender and go get the ball. Before, we didn't have that. I mean, no offense to our former quarterback from last year, but he didn't have that kind of accuracy, right? He more relied on trying to fire the ball into tight spots, hard, and hoping that the receiver catches it. Matt Ryan is good at placing the football. So yeah, I think that he could be that missing piece, and we'll probably find out the first couple games of the season, because preseason, I don't dive too heavy into that, but at the same time, you do get some looks at what you see, and his accuracy is definitely something that I really like watching.
Okay,
Jack, do you have anything you want to ask?
I do, but first I want to know, Glover, did you ever pick off Matt Ryan?
What was that question again?
Did you ever pick off Matt Ryan? Did you ever intercept Matt Ryan?
Yes.
I had a feeling.
I had actually, it was a epic interception against Matt Ryan. Epic interception. Caught a tip the night before the game. Saturday night, sitting in meetings, I got a tip and just watching film, going through my night routine before the game, and I just picked up on something, man, and I saw it, and it just made so much sense to me. And communicated with my DB, Darius Slay, like, hey, man, bro, I just got this tip, man. I see this. Oh, if they do this in a game, this is a play that we got to have. And I saw it in the game. The last minute, I saw it, and it just looked so beautiful. And then it happened. And not only did it happen, he threw the ball. A lot of times, DBs, we make plays, we make breaks, we make these and the quarterback never throws the ball. And so you just like, oh, I wish he would have threw it. But this time Matt actually threw it, and I actually caught it and actually returned it for a touchdown. So it was an epic play in Ford Field. It was beautiful.
Wow, because you know what? That is funny you mentioned that, and going into detail. I didn't go into too much detail with my man Jerraud. And I didn't get a chance to do it with my former co-host DeQuell Jackson. But both of them had pick sixes against Matt Ryan. So the three guys, yeah, all of you guys had pick six. That's freaking phenomenal. But you know,
but I like Matt. Matt.
Yeah.
I do think he's a good quarterback. You know, you playing against good guys in the league, you're gonna have pick sixes, right? I mean, you play as long as he plays, I mean, you're gonna have those things. You know what I'm saying? But I do like Matt. I do think that he's good for Indy. I do think that. I think his personality fits that team. Mm-hmm. I think he has a little chip on his shoulder. You know, he's quiet, but I can from afar see that, like, okay, I think he has a chip that he wants. He has something to prove. And when you look at him, yes, he's had more success in a postseason standpoint than Stafford by, you know, going to the Super Bowl with the Falcons. But I think he kind of feels the same way, you know, and I think since what Stafford done last year gave him that, like, all right, am I going to be that guy this year? This team has been right there each and every year. Am I going to be that missing piece? Because like you said, ever since Andrew Luck left, the quarterback position has really been tough in Indy. Talent has been there, but the quarterback position hasn't. So now, you know, to getting that upgrade at quarterback with the pieces that you guys have in the running back and the wide receiver and the D-line and the defensive back, I really like, you know, some of you guys as defensive backs. I think Matt got that chip on his shoulder, so it'd be interesting to see how you guys do. You guys definitely should win the South. You know, Tennessee maybe, but I think you guys would definitely win the South and make a run for it.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think the majority of us think that as well. I mean, I think, see, last year we led the NFL in Pro Bowlers on the team. So yeah, we have talent on this
Plenty
team.
of it.
Yeah, and then we added more. I mean, not just, Matt Ryan, but Yannick Ngakoue, we brought him in for a little added pass rush. We brought in Stephon Gilmore, who is a fantastic DB out there. And then we got some young guys that we have that are up and coming. So
well, and one of the players that I want to ask about, he's a returning guy, but Nyheim Hines. Every time the coaches talk about the offense, it's a big three. It's Jonathan Taylor, obviously. It's Michael Pittman, obviously. But right listed with them is Nyheim Hines every single time. And so I'm kind of wondering, is he going to take some touches from Jonathan Taylor, or is he going to start spending some time in the slot?
I think a little bit of both. I think the Colts are going to end up running a lot more 2 running back formations than what they did last year, and you're going to see a lot of motion from Nyheim Hines, whether or not he's getting handed the football, or again, if he slides out. I've seen the man go out wide and burn guys all the way downfield and catch touchdowns. He did that in one-on-ones against the Lions 2 days ago. I watched him. It was a beautiful pass by Matt Ryan, and just right down the sideline, out and up. It was gorgeous. Nyheim is one of those all-around football players, right? One of those guys that can just do just about everything. He's not afraid to take it between the tackles when he's handed the football off if he needs to, but at the same time, he's got great hands and great agility. It's really fun to watch him. There's not many football players out there that in full pads can do a 360 half twist flip, in full pads, back flip. So he is fun to watch, and I think the Colts will end up using him quite a bit.
Okay, good to know. Good to know. That's something, especially fantasy football managers are wondering a lot of right now.
Yeah, I don't play fantasy, but I got a lot of friends that do, and a lot of my friends use him as their flex. So, yeah. I think that's probably, we've been going now for pushing 40 minutes. I think that'll probably do it. It's a shame Jerraud didn't show up. Jerraud, I hope everything's going well with you. I understand that you weren't able to make it, but we will definitely be back on Monday reviewing the preseason game tomorrow at 1. Guys, if you are listening to this, please download, share it to your favorite social media. That way it helps us get the word out for Bleav in Colts, Bleav in Lions, the Bleav Podcast Network in general. And if you're watching this on YouTube, smash that like button, hit subscribe if you're not subscribed, and tag that notification bell so that you are notified next time we go live or upload a video. And until next time, quick shout out, thank you to Glover Quin. Appreciate you taking time out, coming on and giving us your thoughts for this upcoming weekend.
No problem, and thank you guys for having me. Thank you to my great co-host, Jack,
thanks so much for bringing your personality and your thoughts as well. Jack is always great. I've interacted with you a little bit on Twitter, but for the most part, this is the first time we got to do face-to-face. Well, we got that face-to-face yesterday to set this up in the business meeting, but it was great having you on. Thanks, man.
Oh, such an honor to come on to Bleav in Colts. Hopefully we can get together during the season and recap and catch up. But yeah, thank you so much for having both of us. Make sure you subscribe to the Bleav in Lions podcast. Follow Glover Quin. Follow me at Cavanagh87, and just keep enjoying, because it's a great time to be a Lions fan.
Glover, real quick, drop your social media handles.
Oh, man, I'm on Instagram. I think it's at Glover Quin. I'm on Twitter. I think it's at Glover Quin Jr. And I'm on TikTok. I think it's probably at Glover Quin.
Oh,
if you just search my name, it should pop up.
All right. Well, thanks again. And until next time, I'm Lawrence Owen. This was Bleav in Colts. And as usual, go Colts.
Do you believe?